Hi everyone, thanks for coming in for a video. I hope my lighting is okay today. I've actually rearranged the room from the last time we ever had there's a shadow back there, how mysterious. Since the last time we had a heart-to-heart, I have totally swung this room around. It almost looks as if I put what do you call it, kind of a filter on iMovie. There's a filter where you can actually reverse your image, which is already bad enough sometimes when you're doing other live streams. They're actually reversed, but there is a little filter where you can do that. And I kind of feel like that whenever I do a video on here, but I know it's late, but this is the best time to have a heart to heart, I think, in my opinion. Welcome to the channel, guys. I'm so glad you're here. This channel is normally all about wonderful, beautiful things like jewelry and treasure hunting and all that good stuff that we love to do as a pretty seasoned eBay reseller. That's pretty much what I like to do here. I like to show you my thrift hauls. I like to talk to you about jewelry and show you unbaggings of jewelry and all that beautiful stuff. So if you like that kind of stuff, I hope you enjoy the channel. I hope you subscribe today. But once in a while, I do like to bring you a heart-to-heart. And I'm also starting a new series, which I hope to do a video of very soon, reflections video. And that one's a little bit different in that we're bringing like certain things to light, and then we'll talk about them. And people have suggested that I do a couple of more subjects that they brought up. So we're going to be doing those pretty soon. I do want to do one on vintage clothing and another one on my collecting habits. And I think that's a pretty good subject. I think it speaks volumes about us and even the stages of our lives and what we collected when we were younger that we don't collect now. I don't know about you guys, but I've pretty much run the gamut, and I still have little vestiges of my old collections. I was talking recently about my vintage jewelry collection and how I came to really embrace rhinestones and the jewelry of the 50s and 60s, the jewelry of I guess kind of the Mamie Eisenhower era or grandparents era. I really started collecting those in the 80s when I was in my 20s and not married, and I just loved them. I love the way certain pop stars brought them to light, and then I just always liked them. I always liked old things, but that was one of the things I used to collect. And I mentioned the fact that I really was not even concerned with whether something had a name on it, like Coro or who's the other one that everyone's talking about, Miriam Haskell, or anything like that. And then I come to see my collection and I see all these names on the back of my collections. And as I said, I just strictly collected for the aesthetic value of it. But that's not what the subject is about today. I want to thank you for being here again. It looks like a few people have popped in here, even though it's late. This is not my most popular series, but I like to do it. I think it brings a sense of getting to know each other. Both you get to know me a little bit better. I get to know you as well. I always learn something from you guys. But the title of the show today was The Sand That Makes the Pearl. Because with what we went through here in Texas not too long ago, last week actually, and what we go through a lot. This is not the first disaster we've ever been through or anything like that, but it's definitely been different. And I was talking to a friend not too long ago about how some of us handle it, and I'm not saying I handle it better than others. I'm definitely a crybaby. I can be very, very much a pessimist. I can always see that empty glass. Mine's full right now with water. Let me take a quick drink and I'll say hello to a couple of people, and then we'll go on with our subject matter. Let me see who is here. All right, we have Lynn, Curdy, how are you? Becky, Liz. Thank you, Liz. You can really see them with this short hair. My hairdresser went nuts today. She went absolutely nuts. I love her anyway. I didn't even stop her. I could have stopped her, I guess. I took my grandson to get a haircut because he was really getting a little bushy around the ears and everything. So I said, you know what? I'll just go ahead and try to straighten out my hair a little bit too. But she definitely chopped it up. I know. She said, oh, a bob, right? You still want a bob? Where's the bob? Where's the bob? It's gone. It's now a little choppy, whatever. But another thing that prompted this video was like, it's hair. It's gonna come back. She always tells me, it's gonna grow quicker than you can even make another appointment. So I'm thinking now I'm not gonna make an appointment for 6 months. I'm gonna go Joni Mitchell on her and just let it grow down to here, and then I'll go see her again. Tina, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. Lois, glad to see you. Becky as well. Thank you, Lois. I appreciate it. Rosie, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Thank you. And again, the jewelry, guys, is this not, design over carats, right? Caliber over carats. These are just the lowly little mother of pearl shell. And I was going to put on some big pearls. I found a gorgeous pearl necklace the other night. I think it was the last jar. It was the Luxe by Carol Lee. I was going to put that on, and then it didn't really quite go with the mother of pearl shell here. And then I looked at my pearls because I have all my pearls on a coat rack, and they're all right there. And that's where I found this one. And this one has pearls and mother of pearl. There you go. But anyway, the subject matter, be sure and give me a thumbs up, guys, as soon as you walk in the door. That really helps grow the channel. And I really want to try to hit 15K very, very soon. I've been trying to give away these rings, these choice of 2 beautiful rings that were sent to me by a company. And I said I was going to do it when I hit 15K. That's going on almost 2 years. So help me get there, guys, so I can give you guys a beautiful ring from this wonderful company. I think it's Julie or something like that. I forgot, but we'll talk about it when we bring up that video. Thank you. Thank you so much. But anyway, I was talking about the fact that how we can make something beautiful from something tragic or messy or not so good, because like I was saying about the recent snowstorm that was unprecedented weather. We hadn't seen this weather in 100 years in Texas. So we didn't know what to expect. The generator for electricity wasn't up to par. They're firing people left and right. Politicians can't go on vacation and try to escape because people criticize them. It's like, would it have helped if that politician had stayed behind? Would it have helped if they criticize the big buildings, our beautiful skyscrapers, our beautiful skyline for being lit up, when in fact they actually probably have generators. Most of our neighbors have generators, actually. We used to have a generator. It was on the brink this year. We used it a couple of hurricanes ago, but no, we did not have any. We did not have a backup generator. But I'm just very, very cognizant of the fact that I can be that way too. Believe me, all of the faults that I see in other people, or that I find fault in other people, is because I have them too. I honestly do. And I do have to hold myself accountable as well, and really think, why am I being so dramatic almost? But I was driven to this subject matter because I was telling my friend that the day of the storm that we didn't have electricity, and some of us didn't have it, we didn't suffer for that long, half a day basically. But there were some who had it for 2 or 3 days, no electricity. There were some who had the means to go to a hotel, had the parents or relatives or friends who could house them. But I saw a post from a coworker, not a current coworker, but as is the case, I kind of have remained friends with a lot of people that I used to work with. And this person is a professional and her husband is a professional. So they definitely have the means to find shelter or to whatnot. But I just cannot believe the almost crybaby attitude about something like, if you have electricity and we don't have electricity, why don't you pretend that you don't have it? And just on and on with this little rant about not being able to freeze her breast milk with a baby that she's got. And I'm thinking, well, where's your common sense? You can, if you really want to keep your frozen breast milk frozen from the freezer, you can put it outside where it's freezing. I mean, a lot of people have done the natural freezer thing forever. Every people who live up north, I know, do that a lot just because you can, right? So, but my point was like, why do people feel so entitled to lash out at others for someone being able to have, a refuge, whether that be a backup generator or whether you can, rely on someone to help you, or whether you can't. And this person did have someone to help her. A couple of hours later, she was talking about how her best friend was going to take them in and how lucky she was and so forth. But after she lashed out at everybody else. And basically, my point is like, we need to stop. I need to stop too, because again, everything I find fault in, believe me, I have seen it in myself. In trying to find out ways that I can blame someone else. Someone else can help me. Who's going to help me today? Who is out there to help me? When okay, I still don't. We can't even get a loaf of bread. Our groceries are totally depleted right now. We're lucky to get eggs. We've got tons of eggs. I'm going to get some quiche recipes, but I can't get hardly any meat. I think we got one package of pork chops, and we had to get this huge family pack. So we're going to have that all week. Tuna and pasta has been in the pantry. That's what we're eating. But it's like you still have food to make. I'm not starving. I'm still going to be able to feed myself and my husband and my daughter, and we're going to be okay. And there are some restaurants open, and I can buy some food that way if I want. Sure, I would rather have something home cooked, but there's just so much more good out there than there is not. And then the people that complain seem to be the ones that have the most. I just don't understand it. And then they fail to see the good that is coming from the community. The many churches we are home to these, what they call mega churches, and they open their doors. They open their doors to house anyone. They called them warm-up centers. Anyone who was without electricity for that whole week or whatever it was last week, they were welcome to come in and sleep there. And some of them were, I think it was 2 or 3 mega churches and a couple of businesses, some huge furniture stores, opened their doors to the people that wanted to go in, that could get their way over there, because of course the roads were treacherous as well. But many people took advantage of it and did seek and find shelter and food and everything there. And I don't see how we've come to this place in our lives where we just think that we can't do for ourselves. We literally have to learn, like by someone holding our hand. Well, this is what you're going to do if you don't have water. You're going to go borrow some from, let's say, your neighbor's pool, or another neighbor may have water. You don't. You share it. You ask. You go and knock on the door and say, do you have, are your pipes busted? How is your water? Some people just sit around, get on Facebook, and complain about everything that's wrong in this world. And I'm just, for one, I'm dumbfounded by that. I'm dumbfounded by people. Again, these were professional people, 2 professional people with 2 incomes, and they were lashing out at people who happened to have electricity. For this had just happened. It had just occurred when we had the blackout for maybe 2 hours. Well, you shouldn't have it because I don't have it. What is that? What have we become? I mean, I just think that's so uncalled for. I think we should all be checked, honestly. And that can be me too, because believe me, I was starting to get angry. I was starting to get angry and starting to wonder, well, who's to blame? Whose heads are going to roll over this, But I'm not sitting around waiting for someone to knock on my door and tell me I'm here to help you. I'm going to look for some things to make. I'm going to cook on a pit if I have to. Like we have before when we've suffered with hurricanes. It was different, definitely different. Maybe that's why people got so scared, because we hadn't experienced cold like that. But you were still in a home. You still had blankets. You still had a husband to help you if you needed help with anything. Yet you find it useful in what way to lash out at people who have electricity for an hour longer than you did? I mean, I don't know. Let me see what you think. Maybe I'm just talking out my ears here. Most are on like that. People do not really, Julie says, people do not really want a solution. They thrive off the attention. Oh, the victim mentality is so real, Miss Julie, so real. It gets them a solution when stop that people need to take responsibility for themselves. Absolutely, absolutely. And I've seen a lot of that. And again, just even some people that are more vulnerable than others, let's say people that are disabled and for not necessarily homebound or anything like that, but people who can't work and things like that. I've seen more people pick themselves up by their bootstraps on their own than, like I said, this professional couple. And it wasn't him. I didn't see him put any posts, but I couldn't believe that from her. And she's young too. And I understand being scared. You have a baby to care for, but your baby's there, you're under a roof, you've got, if you've got food in your pantry and you've got breast milk, you got breast milk, and all you're worried about is freezing the breast milk. I mean, come on, put it in a cooler outside. It's freezing. I could not believe that. Erica Pope says, I love to Thelma and everyone sending positive thoughts and love. Oh, thank you, Miss Pope. We need that so badly. I heard they found a 7-year-old frozen to death. I'm not sure about how that happened. I did see it in the news, but I haven't read all of that. There were about 10 deaths. Yes, unfortunately there were, and a lot of them were traffic related. And then that's another thing. People don't heed the advice that is given. You don't drive if you don't have to drive. And they do. And they do it during our floods too. We're notorious for flooding here, and people continue to try to cross over roads that are waterlogged. Of course, some truly need help, desperate help, and so much of it is taken away by those who really don't need it. They just take advantage of it. Sorry, they really gets my goat. Yeah. And I think what I'm trying to say though is that the people that deserve the credit for helping never do. The churches that open are always criticized for their creed, honestly. And then the people that, just by mere virtue of trying to keep their businesses open, they usually have generators. So those are, like they come on. But what good is it going to do us all to be blacked out just because one is blacked out? I don't get that tit for tat. Because I'm suffering, you have to suffer too. I don't get that. I would rather be like, well, I'd rather just think, well, that's lucky that they're doing, but what am I going to do to help myself? How am I going to help myself? Am I just going to sit here and lash out because somebody else has electricity for another day while I didn't? Like I was talking to my students today. We had a virtual, really quick, just a check-in. We don't go actually in person. I go in person tomorrow, but they don't come in till the 1st. But I had I asked them all how they were and what they went through and so forth. And one young man says, it was awful. He says, we didn't have electricity for 3 days. But then he says, but it's better now because we have a place to stay and we're fine. And I thought that is, for him to say that just quite simply, like, but it's better now. I mean, because and this is a kid who can still see that, yeah, we can get through the diversity, but it's better now. There is, because of that sand, there is a pearl, there is something better. He's comfortable. He's got what he needs to eat. He's got his computer running, his electricity now. He can go to school virtually if he wants to. And it just all seems to be a little bit, more working its way to better. And if 11, what is he, 12? I think most of my students are 12 going on 13. 12 years old can see that instead of, well, no, it was terrible and just whining about it. Yeah, it was terrible. And yeah, there was tragedy. There always is and things like this. But there's a lot to be grateful for. Let me see who else popped in. Hi, Tina, Emily. They are the exception. Most are not like that. I know. Hi, Miss Gonzalez. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that's kind of all I was going to talk about. That got me thinking about that. And just, has anything like that ever occurred to you, where not so much that you've been able to survive? I think a lot of us have gone through hurricanes and weather, and even having our lights turned off because we can't pay the bill. I know I have. I know I have, and it's not fun and it's not good, but you do what you can do, and you make phone calls, and you ask for this and that, and for extensions, and you talk to people, and then you just make do and you get it turned on when you can. But also, like, has there ever been anything like serendipitous about it? For example, I was thinking about this too, because the other person that I know from this particular group of people that I worked with, I often think about her because she's young too. She's, I think, 35 or so. And she always likes to talk about the fact that something awful happened to her when she was young, but it saved her life. And I think that's just the ultimate serendipity. And I think I helped her write an essay. She was going to school. We were all teachers aides at the time, and going to school to be certified. And I remember helping her write this essay, and I gave her the title serendipitous soda or something like that. I don't remember, because it involved a soda. But what happened was, I think her brother and her were sharing a soda, and her brother cut or broke the bottle or something, and she cut herself. Well, she had to be rushed to the hospital, and because she was bleeding profusely with this broken soda bottle. But if it wasn't for that broken soda bottle, she would not have been diagnosed with leukemia. And she is a childhood leukemia survivor. And she has a really beautiful, raspy voice. And everybody always asks her about her voice, because it's just very interesting. She's a beautiful lady as well. And her voice is just really deep and raspy. And she always has to give that story. And I remember her telling me that, and I helped her come up with that title, because we were all kind of, best friends and everything, as we worked together trying to get to be certified teachers, and we were all teachers aides. And she had to write an essay for one of her classes in school. And that's when I learned that story. And I always think about that, like, talk about unbelievable circumstances, right? Where, again, the sand made the pearl there, because if she hadn't been rushed to the hospital with that profuse bleeding, and if the doctor hadn't been astute enough to wonder what, about her blood or whatnot, she wouldn't be here today. She survived leukemia because of that accident that took her to the hospital. Tell us about your jewelry you're wearing. Yes, yes, I just talked about these beautiful earrings that are just mother of pearl shells. And I just was looking for a pearl, because I thought it would kind of go, but it really was fighting with it. And then I found that I had this, and I don't even know. I think this is a Lucky brand. It's like 3 strands. It's got a chain here with some kind of station, and then it's got 2 strands. And I think these are just faux pearls, but they are mother of pearl. Let me see. Carrie says, when I was a child, we were so poor. My mother wrapped newspaper around her feet and legs in winter when it snowed, so we could have tights to stay warm. Yeah, that's incredible. Everything happens for a reason. That's what I think. For honestly, I mean, it's not always the case, of course. It's tragic. Lives were lost, and they're lost daily for so many other tragedies around the world. But when you hear a story like that, and you hear about this young girl, and I believe she's still not married. I don't know. She's not married. She's beautiful, but she's always got that story in my mind. I'm always thinking about her, and wishing that she would find her true love, right? I always want to match people up, but sometimes people, maybe they're happy or single. I don't know. I think she's got high expectations, and I don't blame her. I think when you survive something like that, but that's why she has that beautiful voice too. It's very deep and raspy. It's kind of like Demi. Remember Demi Moore's voice? It kind of took us off for a loop when we first heard her voice. It's kind of like that, but hers was because of the treatments that she had to undergo. Hi, Mary. But I'm not saying that we all learned something from this storm. Um, I know we. My husband says you don't feel that. What is it? You don't long for the cold and snow anymore, do you? I said I lost that longing when I visited Chicago a couple of years ago during their vortex or whatever it's called, and it was quite a few below zero, and it hurt quite a bit. No, I don't romanticize the snow at all anymore. But other than that, I mean, we're going to have more. We're going to have floodings. We're going to have other times that we don't have electricity. We were without electricity for a week during the last hurricane. My grandson's first birthday was totally ruined because of the hurricane 4 years ago. My son and his wife and their child, who had come for the first birthday, were stranded here for weeks. They couldn't leave, and it wasn't what we planned. And he still hasn't been able to have a party. Every time we have a birthday party for him, it storms. It's in the middle of hurricane season in August, so we always just kind of prepare for that. But they kind of show us what's important anyway. They don't care. He was playing and splashing around in the rain when his last birthday party, and all we could do was, bring in all the decorations from outside because they were done. There was not going to be an outdoor party. Am I really? Well, it's the lighting, I think. I was trying to figure out the lighting. I was saying I switched the room around. This is actually the back of the room where this used to be in front of me before, and everything's a little bit different. I used to rely on another light to light. Now I have this really bright lamp that's brighter than my ceiling fan lamp. So it's that mother of pearl, guys. Now we all know. Mother of pearl sparkles like crazy, doesn't it? Who knew? Yeah. Everyone would be better off. Exactly, Miss Carrie. Exactly. But the point of my opening story about that couple is that they are of means. They are. And I can, and I always think about, some of the parents that I meet. You can always tell the parents that are resentful because of their lot in life, with a child with special needs, whether it be just a learning disability, or dyslexia, which is so manageable, so workable, so treatable. It's to someone who's confined to a wheelchair. And they can still treat everyone with respect. They do not take it out on anyone. They don't have a chip on their shoulders when we meet them. They're not acting like, we need to do this or we need to that, or we can actually perform miracles, because we can't. We can only do what we can do in a school environment. And those that don't, they exist out there. There are people that's just the way they are. They're like I said, some see that glass half empty and some see it full, regardless. But that's just kind of what I was thinking about today, because I really want to thank you guys so much for reaching out to me. I was so touched by the notes that I got from so many people to ask me how I was. I'm so grateful just for that. I even had someone ask me if I needed some money, and I just could not believe that. Someone who I've never even spoken with on here on the chat. A lot of these names I recognize. They always chat with me. They're my customers over at my auctions. They support the channel, and I know them by name. This woman did not even recognize her name, but she says she loved the channel and wanted to know if I could use some money for the issue that was happening here in Houston. And I said, no, absolutely not. Thank you so much for the offer, I just could not believe it. But the thought that she even wrote to me and offered that was incredible. I mean, it's just very, very touching to know that people think that way. And more than anything, more than that money comfort would have comforted me in any way. And of course, I don't need it, like I said. But her note touched me so deeply. And just the fact that she said, well, just know that I care, and if I don't have much, she says, but I would gladly, send you a check or send you this or that. It's like, oh my gosh, I just could not believe it. That was just so touching and so sweet. And no, absolutely not. You don't need to do that. But the fact that you wrote to me and asked me how I was, that was like writing me $1,000 check. I mean, honestly, it really made me feel fantastically wonderful. So I hope that everyone who suffered with this right now is getting what they need. I know there's lots of agencies open. Our schools are open since the pandemic started, with our food pantries and our food distributions, and all of them, all the school districts and churches, constantly. That's what they're doing, because people are hurting with this pandemic. They have hurt so badly with no jobs. And people are really, really hurting and desperate to feed their families. And the community pulls together. It really does. So it pains me to hear about people who don't see that and just want to lash out because they happen to be inconvenienced for a day or two. And like I said, I know that there was tragedies, but there were ways to stay warm safely as well. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who just crumble and don't try to figure out a way to stay warm. They just crumble. And that's the truth. And sometimes the children are a little smarter than the adults. Mary Swanson, I was loved as a child and I'm loved now, and I'm so thankful for my family. Absolutely, Miss Mary. That's the most important thing. Absolutely. Oh, good, Leona. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that their restaurants are opening. We've lost so many restaurants. Even McDonald's was closed today. I couldn't believe it. I don't know if it was because maybe there was a lot of businesses lost their plumbing and everything, busted pipes and whatnot. I know the hairdresser that I went to today that chopped all my hair off said she had a busted pipe and they were working on it while we were there. But yeah, there's definitely been a lot of, Darwin was right, absolutely. But like I said, there has been absolute mobilization of help here, and there has to be. There has to be. We have to be out there for people. I'm not saying that kind of thing is not what I was talking about at all. I was talking about people of means who still think someone should be blamed and you should suffer with me because I'm inconvenienced for a couple of days. That's what I'm talking about. I don't get that. I just have never understood that. I understand neighbor helping neighbor, family helping family. That's the way you do it. Yeah. We sure do, Miss Makeup Zombie, Miss Liz. We do. We have an amazing community. I think, and I think you make your own community. I think you reap what you sow. If you know, whether it be on YouTube here or your church or your family, your neighbors, my neighbors are incredible. And it's because of my husband that they even, they know that he's got tools to help them. They called him when their pipes were busted because he is that type of person. He's always been outgoing and he makes conversation when he goes to get the mail from the front. And he's always been a friendly person. So when you lend yourself to that, that's what you get in return. We lived through a power failure for 6 weeks. Oh my goodness. In the winter in 98, about 4 million of us were affected. Oh my goodness, Miss Francis. That's incredible. That's just unbelievable. 6 weeks. Now, I think everyone's power is on right now. The big issue for the last couple of days was the water. They just lifted the boil water thing 2 days ago, but we never. Well, we did have some orange water. So, and then my student did tell me that his water was still smelling bad, so I told him not to touch it. But the electricity was about a week, I think, at the most for most people. It starts with our governments. We need to know we can fall back on them. It helps with us coping. Yeah, and not so much the government. And I think what we fail to see is that the community is out there too. Like I mentioned, the churches, the businesses that everyone is so quick to lash out against, those businesses open their doors to everyone, not just to the home. The homeless are always picked up during freeze, and they're told not, and most of them don't want to go, but they are always having, shelters for them. But in this case, it was families that were invited to come into these mega churches. These churches are in arenas. One of our churches, two of our churches are they're arena size, and that's Lakewood Church. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I've heard of it. You can Google it. But the proprietors of that church, the pastor and his wife, have been the subject of numerous criticisms from everyone. And yet they opened their doors to the people that needed it. And they were feeding them and they were housing them. And that's what I'm saying, that there is also, the government cannot be there all the time in an instant, but we can. We as family and friends and communities and churches can also be there. Because, sometimes things are on the slow train, unfortunately. We were out for 4 weeks, some 6. We survived by helping each other. I had strangers in my home, sleeping, eating, showering. Absolutely. We had that as well during the hurricane. We had people coming and staying with us because they were expecting a big flooding, and they did have flooding, and it was a mess. The lack of a better world. Yeah, absolutely. Family, friends, and true support. Yeah. I mean, you can't. You'll be waiting a long time. Have you ever tried to go to an office to get a doctor appointment at a free clinic? It's free for a reason, because you'll be waiting 2 days. You'll be waiting 2 days. Yeah, and it's not about to get any better. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The thing was, I just think that it's not a good idea for us to turn against each other. That's the thing. Especially, like I said, these people are not even, that I'm speaking of, are not even desolate. They're not even desolate. They have a home. They have family and friends, and the friend took her in within an hour after she already lashed out at everybody on Facebook for having electricity, which I just thought was crass. But I know that, like I said, even what I see in others, I see in myself too, because I've been that way too. I've lashed out and get angry about things that I have no control over. That's the problem. You have no control over it. Hi, Gina. And it's just, in hindsight, I guess things are always clearer, but I don't know. It was really weird too when the lights went out, because you know how I have candles all over the place. I love candles. I just love them. I like the ambiance they give, and I always turn some on in the living room. And I was turning on candles. I must have had 4 of them lit when the lights went out, and they didn't go back on for a while. So I was telling my husband, talk about serendipitous as well. I'm here lighting my candles as the lights went gone. The last straw that makes you boil. What is that, Miss Mary? I hope you guys are all doing well, though. I know the weather is crazy everywhere. I think we're seeing some spring weather now, though. We've got, what are we, almost 80 today? We'll be complaining about the heat pretty soon. We need the village. Exactly. Operator candles on Amazon. They flicker and they look so nice. Really? And my husband, who collects flashlights, was down to one. He's like, well, you always tell me I collect too many flashlights. I started getting rid of them. But luckily I had all those lights on. Hi, Eileen Guzman. How are you, the Guzman? I'm glad you're here. Yes, the hits keep on coming. It's unbelievable. You're right, Mary. You're right. I was so, optimistic and still am. I'm still optimistic about the new year just because this tragedy happened and it's a tragedy for those who lost lives, of course. But other things, the school situation, we've been home for a whole week now. The kids don't come back till March 1st. Yet all of the testing and all of the expectations for them are there. And like my coworker was telling me today, he's like, I don't see things changing much for next year. And I feel awful, he says, I feel awful for the children who don't like school. They don't like school because of what it has become. And it has become a mess. And last time I talked about this, I was deeply criticized, and that's okay. I'm deeply criticized about a lot of things. Someone said, oh, it's going to get better. The kids are resilient and this and the other, and stop getting political and so forth. But no, you know what? I'm seeing it right now, and we're into it. We got back in October 10th. And we will have repercussions from this pandemic and lockdowns and so forth that they did for a long time to come. And I'm not talking health-wise. I'm talking about the children that were left behind. I honestly have to say that. They are not faring well. The parents have gotten complacent. We have parents who pick and choose when to drop their children off. They have found it more convenient to be virtual instead of in person, even though they need to be there in person. And then I guess mom or dad think, well, I don't have to get up a little bit earlier just to go drop them off. I'll just let them be virtual. And then many of the children are self-reliant and they can log on and they study and they do what they need to do. And then there are those that don't. They need to be prodded every time. Prodded to wake up, prodded to study, prodded to log on to each class. And then, they're only on for a little while and then they are on their own independent work and they're done. And they are not learning. And I'm not just talking the child that has a little bit of problem learning or is not an achiever. I'm talking about even the straight A students are becoming lax, and it's going to be tough. It is tough. It is tough, and I just wish that we could start over. I wish we could erase 2021 and 2020 and start over anew. And I know people are going to say, well, there's a pandemic and this and the other. And I know that, but it is what it is. I'm not going to deny the repercussions that are coming from this. It's ridiculous for me to cover my eyes and pretend everything's beautiful when it's not. I am a middle school teacher and I see it. And it is not a good picture. It's not a good picture. But I'm going to try to make it the best I can. I talk to the children every single day. I tell them that I know what they're going through, that I can, and I don't really, because they're young and they're going through a lot more than I can see. They really are. They're missing out on a lot more than I can see. And they're dealing with a lot more than I can see. For all I know, they could be dealing with, a one-income family or no income family, or because I've seen it. But I've also seen the mindset that is changing with the parents. It's changing with a lot of parents, and we tend to think in terms of optimism and give the parents the benefit of the doubt and think that they do everything correct for their kids, but they don't. I didn't do everything correct. I don't think there is a perfect parent, and I don't know how I would have handled a situation like this as a 20-year-old parent or a 25-year-old parent. or a parent in her 30s. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I always see everyone's worst qualities in myself as well. If I don't see them now, I have seen them before. I'm not acting like a holier than thou person in any way. Adaptability, we need to accept changes with equanimity. Exactly. Words for a song, let me be patient, let me be kind, make me unselfish without being blind. Though I may suffer, I envy it not, and endure what comes, because he's all that I've got. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Education is also evolving. It will continue to evolve. I'm also a teacher. Yes, at times it's frustrating. Elodia Plum. Yeah, it's very frustrating. And it's not frustrating for me for some of the reasons that others are going through for, let's say, evaluations or expectations, teacher expectations, teacher evaluations. That's not the frustrating part for me. I can take or leave that, honestly. To me, the frustrating part is the future of these kids. That's the frustrating part. Because I honestly that's the reason I love my job, is because I love seeing the future bloom. I love seeing it right before my eyes. And like I said, I don't put this that I'm telling you, I don't show that to them at all. I am nothing but optimistic with them. And I keep telling them things are going to get better. School's going to be much better soon and so forth. But I absolutely see that things have affected them very, very greatly. And like you say, it evolves. Of course, it has to. And I do believe there is resilience. I do believe that. But we're definitely seeing a lot of, and I've seen the administrators have to change their attitudes too about the way things are and the way things should be, and talking more directly to the parents now, even more than to the kids, because I really feel like the parents are changing their attitudes. And again, we can't, hold parents up as on this pedestal as if they are knowing everything and doing everything perfect. No, there is no perfect parent. There is no perfect parent. They're going to make mistakes like I did. We're all going to make mistakes. And hopefully, sometimes I even tell my kids, please tell your mother to bring you to school. Oh, well, she had to go to work today. Oh, well, actually, we had to go plan her sister's wedding because she's going to get married. And we had to stay up late, and that's why I didn't come. My mom said I could just go virtual. I literally, I do overstep my bounds, and that's okay. That's okay. Let them call me. I just really, I care. And if that's wrong, then that's wrong. Absolutely. Social skills. Absolutely. Yeah. That was amazing, wasn't it, Carrie? I love those words. I'm going to have to screenshot that. Carrie, you're so funny. Yeah. That is so funny. All right, guys, that's enough of my rant. I'm sure I'll get plenty of thumbs down on my opinions. That's what this little chat is for. Opinions, thoughts, random musings in my head. Take them or leave them. Take them with a grain of salt or not. Take them with what's the other one? With a spoonful of sugar. Whichever way you want to take it, it's okay. A song by Lauryn. Oh, don't I love Lauryn Hill? She took it from Corinthians. Okay, I thought it was biblical, but I do love Lauryn Hill. I love her earlier work from the 90s. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I do appreciate it. I think I'm going to have a thrift haul soon. I went thrifting today with my grandson. That was fun. That's another thing I have to do to get myself out of these funks that I can get into where I start feeling like, oh my gosh, nothing's ever going to get better. Oh my gosh. Blah, blah, blah. is to go pick up my grandson, hang out with him, watch him play with cars and pick up sticks and get dirty and all of that good stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And then just, you have to see. I guess that's why I love going back into the classroom, because I do see a lot of good things with those kids. And they teach me something every day. Like that little 12-year-old told me, it's better now. We are much better now. So absolutely. Thank you, Olivia. I'm so glad that you appreciate it. I appreciate you guys being here. Again, I'm going to bring you a thrift haul. Like I said, I went thrifting with my grandson today. We found a lot of cool stuff. And I still have more. I didn't even show you everything from that estate sale. I forgot to show you my Pottery Barn findings, which I love. So I will show you that soon. Have a wonderful night. I'm going to go to work tomorrow. I'm excited to go to work tomorrow. No one will be there but us. The kids are going virtual until the 1st. But we'll be there. They'll buy us lunch. Everything is better with free lunch, right? A nice catered lunch from the PTO. Thank God for our PTOs. Absolutely. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and the weekend is almost here. Enjoy it, whatever day it is over where you live. Good night. Thank you, Mary. You too.